Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and this time we are talking about The Legend of Zelda, Echoes of Wisdom, and if Link can somehow be playable in this game. Well, it's very clear that Princess Zelda is taking on the starring role for this game, and there are some very interesting puzzling mechanics taking place throughout. There are some things going on with the trailer that have me thinking that Link is still going to somehow play a significant role in this game, and is not just going to be taking a backseat the entire time. And so that's what we're going to be diving a little bit further into today. But before going forward, let me ask that if you do enjoy my content, to please subscribe and hit that notification bell. So Echoes of Wisdom is a breath of fresh air here. It feels like a very unique take on the Zelda formula, and I really like what they're doing with the Echoes. Having Zelda take on the starring role, and as opposed to being more of a warrior, she's more like a mage that has to rely on her intelligence or her wisdom. I do believe the title of the game, Echoes of Wisdom, is a play on that idea. And so once she obtains the Tri-Rod and starts using the Echoes, the game becomes a huge puzzling adventure where you really have to focus on your imagination and critical thought. And so I'm very much looking forward to this. But at the same time, I'm also very curious about what's going on with Link. Link is the main character of the series, and I do think he should still play a significant role. And I have some theories and analysis I would like to get into here, but first let me point out this interesting little interview that took place between IGN and the series producer of Zelda, Eiji Aonuma, late last year. So this interview is mostly focused on Tears of the Kingdom, but IGN had asked Aonuma about the future of Zelda and how she could maybe be playable. And this is how Aonuma responded. Yeah, it is interesting when you think about the name of the series, The Legend of Zelda, but Link is always the main character. And Link has been the main character, and Zelda has always been involved, and they have a relationship and their own rules in each of the games. But it is true that I think there's always room for thinking about this type of thing and Zelda's role. And there may be some sort of possibility for something like that in the future. And then later he interjects in English, maybe, because there was a translator there. And so there's a few takeaways from this. One, not so much related to this video, we'll focus more on this discussion at a later point, but this is more evidence that Aonuma is building up this history of teasing future Zelda games in interviews. So all that talk about the Ocarina of Time remake and some mentionings during some recent interviews, I think there's something to it, but again, that's a conversation for another time. Really what I would like to focus on here is how Aonuma talks about how Link is the main character of the series, but Zelda is also very important. And so if you look throughout the history, Zelda has taken on a prominent role, especially in Breath of the Wild, and perhaps even more especially in Tears of the Kingdom. She does a lot of things throughout the story, she's active, and her efforts are pivotal in helping Link and others to save the day. So she's not just a basic damsel in distress, there has been a trajectory here where Zelda has been increasingly having more and more of a prominent role in the games. And here Aonuma talks about how they are open for even further ideas where perhaps she herself could be taking on a role where she's playable. And so that's what we have with Echoes of Wisdom. But I also think this conversation can go both ways. Now that Zelda is playable, Link should be taking on more of a prominent role. He is still an important character to the series. And so we do see in the beginning of the trailer that Link is doing some very interesting things. He has this really cool new hood with the green swirls that make us think that there might be some sort of Zonai connection, and then also with his sword and bow as well. It's a new sword, a new bow, and they look really interesting, and they definitely stand out. But what also stands out as we see Link adventure through this dungeon or tomb, and he takes on the Dark Nuts and Ganon, he is using new abilities, these different jumping attacks that we've never seen before in a 2D Zelda game. So they took the time to expand on Link's moveset and give him new weapons and even this really cool hood. There is an attention to detail here, and I would find it quite curious if they just have Link falling through this rift and we don't see him again until the very end of the game with just some sort of cute ending cutscene where Princess Zelda and Link unite once more. I think there's a little bit more to it than that. So something that I think is worthy of note is the whereabouts of Link's hood. So you'll notice that Link throws off his hood when he's about to fight Ganon, and he just leaves it there on the floor. But it's this same hood that Princess Zelda is using throughout the game. So how does she acquire it? Because we see her escaping the dungeon as the rift expands and there is no hood on her person. However, she puts it on a little bit later. Well, I don't think there's anything too crazy going on here. I think just what happens is that after Link frees Zelda by shooting the crystal with his bow and then he falls into the rift, Zelda can then explore this room. I'm not sure if it's a cutscene or not. I'm kind of leaning towards maybe some level of gameplay, because we see this other shot here where she's on the other side of the room, the other side of the rift, around where Link dropped the hood. So I'm kind of thinking that she picks up the hood at this point, doesn't wear it, but picks it up as an item, and it's at this point that the rift starts to expand and she has to escape, and that leads to all the future events of the game. And so what you'll notice with the key art here, Zelda has her hood, and she has her awesome tri-rod that can do a whole bunch of really cool things. But then we also have Link and Ganon in the background, and there's like this purpley dark fire around them along with an outline. Ganon has these red eyes with no apparent pupils, which leads me to believe that maybe Ganon isn't even the main antagonist here. Potentially he's being possessed or controlled, because he also poofs away and his special trident leads to the rift being started there, so there might be something else going on with that. But even Link himself appears to be a bit different. He also has the purple outline, he looks a little angry, and his sword seems to have a different shape than it did in the opening segment of the trailer. It's possible that there simply may have been a change of design for the sword, and we're seeing a disconnect between the key art and the gameplay of the trailer, but it's also possible this could be a hint towards something. And so I am thinking at some point or another, Princess Zelda will have to deal with Link. She will have to engage in some sort of battle with him. And basically how I think it's going to go down, Princess Zelda is little by little going to be going to these different rifts throughout the game, entering them, as we see in the trailers where they appear to be kind of like their own smaller mini dungeons, and when she completes them, my theory is that they will clear out and you will restore another piece to the land of Hyrule. And so I think at some point you're going to get to the rift where Link fell through, and you will have to deal with him. Perhaps he'll be playing on a larger role, and it won't just be the single rift he fell through, you have to take him on multiple times, perhaps like a recurring mini-boss. But eventually, I think you will be able to mimic him or create an echo where you can use him as a powerful tool. The same way Zelda can create echoes for certain enemies, I think at some point you're going to be able to do that with Link as well. So my theory is that we'll see Link throughout the game as an adversary, but at some point we'll be able to use him as an echo. So it won't truly be Link, but it will be someone that has those same abilities, which makes sense because we see they put some effort into giving Link a new weaponry and abilities. So we'll actually be able to use them to some extent throughout the game. Of course, Link is a pretty powerful character, and I have to think that once you have this, it'll be pretty easy to do a lot of different things throughout the adventure, so this will be something that you wouldn't be able to do until very late into the experience. And I'm also going to venture to guess that at the very end, the final battle, it won't just be an echo of Link, but the real deal, Link himself. He'll be freed from this possession or whatever's going on with him, and Link and Zelda will defeat the final boss together. That's my theory on what's going to go on. And that's how Link, I think, will be playable. He will become an ability of yours, like some of the other echoes in the game. It would fit overall within the gameplay loop, and I think this would be really cool. However, I will entertain another possibility. I think it's unlikely, but maybe once you beat the game, you can unlock a new game plus of some kind, and Link can then run through the adventure as more of a hack and slash, an action adventure as opposed to a puzzle adventure. This is possible, but I think it's unlikely because the game has been designed around puzzling in mind, and it's not too often that we have expanded New Game Plus experiences. There might be something to do afterwards with a second playthrough, but it's usually not something this extensive. But if it happened, I wouldn't be 100% shocked, just somewhat pleasantly surprised. So basically what I'm thinking is the reason why they're doing all this extra stuff for Link is because he is going to be really important to the story. We're going to see him multiple times, and he will also be relevant to the gameplay once we unlock him as an echo. And so he'll be somewhat sort of playable as an ability. But that's it. This game is mostly about Princess Zelda being the main character and what she can do with her wisdom. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. This is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.